Grace and friends, today's sermon is entitled Truth on the Scaffold. What is truth? Asked Pilate, with Jesus, the truth, capital T, standing right in front of him. Truth would soon be on the Roman scaffold. It seems fearfully so to me that today truth itself is on the scaffold. How shall we live in such unprecedented times as these in our nation? There is such alarm and fear and feeling of helplessness among us as we watch the beginning of the second Trump presidency, party affiliation aside. Can we talk about it in church? I do with some trepidation today. Human lives near and far and new danger and vulnerability. So on this Sunday, I seek to address the political and spiritual hour through the lens of the life and witness of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. During the Third Reich in Germany, he addressed the German church, which had fallen under the spell of Hitler and Nazism. Near the end of his young life, he became part of a plot to assassinate Hitler and was executed by order of Hitler. What shall we make of such a life? His life, I think, can give us clarity and urgency as we seek to be followers of Jesus today. I want to be clear, I am not equating President Trump with Hitler. Historical analogies are never exact and sometimes misleading, but the life of a heroic Christian may give us guidance on how we might be Christian today. Bonhoeffer has been one of the most formative theologians in my life. As a student at Union Seminary in New York City, I would often walk by the Bonhoeffer room. His presence filled the halls. I took classes from Paul Lehman, who was his personal friend while they were students together at Union. And Lehman begged Bonhoeffer not to return to Germany to meet his almost certain death. I have a personal stake in the truth of who Bonhoeffer was. Today we're witnessing the thievery of Bonhoeffer's life and witness by the religious and political right, led by a writer and speaker named Eric Metaxas. Metaxas wrote a flawed biography of Bonhoeffer and has followed it up with a 2022 book entitled Letter to the American Church. Metaxas was a leader in the Stop the Steal rally in December of 2019 and has used Bonhoeffer to equate the Democratic Party, the presidency of Biden, and liberalism in general with Hitler. He has called for Christians to eradicate this collective evil by any means necessary. The International Bonhoeffer Society and the Bonhoeffer family has decried his use of Bonhoeffer for these purposes. Metaxas has called this moment in time a Bonhoeffer moment, a moment to resist the political evils around us. Ironically, progressive Christian leaders have been asking whether this moment is a Bonhoeffer moment since the beginning of Trump's first term. That both sides could claim Bonhoeffer as a hero and guide could only happen when truth itself was in danger. Today I offer a short introduction to his life and witness so that you may make the connections to your life and our life for yourself. He grew up in an aristocratic family in Germany. He and his twin sister, Sabine, the youngest of 6 children. His father was a professor of psychiatry and his mother was the daughter of a minister, a chaplain in the court of Emperor Wilhelm II. Bonhoeffer's grandfather quit his position as chaplain when Emperor Wilhelm wanted to dictate what he preached, and who one day referred to the proletariat as rabble. His beloved grandmother, Julie, was an outspoken advocate of women's rights. And when Hitler passed a law forbidding citizens from shopping in stores owned by Jews, she, at 91 years of age, marched right past the military police and shopped, shopping as a seditious act. When Bonhoeffer decided to go into theological studies, his father was deeply disappointed, thinking it a waste of his prodigious abilities. By the age of 24, young Bonhoeffer had received 2 doctorates and written 2 dissertations. Studying the nature of the church, always a key concern to him, he traveled at 19 years of age to Rome, where he discovered the worldwide ecumenical church, so much broader than his German Lutheran Protestant church. His dissertation was on Christ existing as community. The first sentence of his first sermon was, "Christianity entails decision." He had set his path. He traveled to the United States to study at Union Theological Seminary in New York City, 1930-31. His first semester, he said, "There is no theology here." In Germany, theological studies focused on the history of doctrine and philosophy. Metaxas and his followers liked to pounce here. But Bonhoeffer's second semester there was transformative. He began attending and teaching Sunday school at the great black church in Harlem, Abyssinian Baptist Church. His union classes introduced him to the urgency of social justice. And in the spring, he traveled to the South with his close friend, black classmate Franklin Fisher. And this trip gave him new eyes to see what was happening in his own country. He did not know, nor do we, that Hitler had already sent representatives to the U.S. to study how to subjugate and oppress an entire people. When he returned to Germany, he wrote a now famous book, The Cost of Discipleship. Its first sentence, "Cheap grace is the deadly enemy of the church." The book took a deep dive into Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Bonhoeffer was undergoing a kind of conversion, he said, from theologian to Christian. I know to all religious professions. In a letter to a friend he wrote, "I do believe that at last I'm on the right track. I think I am right in saying that I only could achieve true inner clarity and honesty by really taking the Sermon on the Mount seriously. Here alone lies the force that can blow all this hocus pocus that is Nazism sky high." During this time in the early 30s, when Hitler came into power, before Hitler came into power, he gave an address on national radio against what he called the Führer principle, or the political strongman principle that was taking over the nation. The producers of the radio program cut him off mid-speech. He saw early the dangers of Nazism and the evil of anti-Semitism. He began to help Jews escape from Germany. He wrote with characteristic sharpness, "Only the one who cries out for the Jews may sing Gregorian chants." He had begun to see the great dividing line between the institutional church in Germany and a true following of Jesus. He helped form what is called the Confessing Church, a community of pastors and Christians formed in resistance to Hitler and in repudiation of the German Christian church, which had given its allegiance to Hitler and fallen under the sway of Nazism. The German Christian church had become, in their own words, the Reich Church. Today, a number of American churches have started calling themselves patriot churches. Bonhoeffer raised the question and its stakes. The question is really, he wrote, Christianity or Germanism? We face the same question today, Christianity or Americanism? White Christian nationalism is on the move in America to turn our pluralistic democracy into a theocracy, and they know exactly who Theo is. In 1939, Bonhoeffer faced induction into the German army. He was not yet ready to be arrested, so he traveled back to the United States and to Union Seminary again. But as soon as he got there, he realized he had made a mistake. Against the pleading of his friends, he went back to Germany. He wrote to Reinhold Niebuhr, his professor and friend at Union, these words: I must live through this difficult period in our national history with the Christian people of Germany. I shall have no right to participate in the reconstruction of Christian life in Germany after the war if I do not share the trials of this time with my people. As the clouds darkened, Bonhoeffer wrote with remarkable clarity and prescience that the church had three responsibilities to the state. One, the first was to call the state to be the state as God had ordained it to be. That is to maintain justice and stability. Second was its unconditional obligation to come to the aid of victims of state action, all victims, every victim. And third, it was not only to come to bind up the wounds of victims who were underneath the wheel, but to seize the wheel itself. If a train is hurtling down upon a person, he said, we must try to stop the train, and in his words, put a spoke in the wheel. He had been moving toward putting a spoke in the wheel. On November 9, 1938, the government's violence against the Jews turned official and public. On the night remembered as Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, Jewish homes, businesses, and synagogues were looted and burned. Holy objects were desecrated into the streets. That very night, Bonhoeffer opened the Bible and read Psalm 74. Your foes have roared in your holy places. They set up their emblems there. They set your sanctuary on fire. Bonhoeffer wrote in the margin of his Bible, how long, O God, shall I be a bystander? Those are searing words for our consciences today. Here is one meaning of taking up the cross, to no longer be a bystander. On April 15, 1943, he was arrested for being part of a plot to assassinate Hitler. Bonhoeffer had chosen his path as his path, not as a model for Christian action, but as a witness he chose tremblingly to give. He was willing to take upon himself the guilt of murder and place himself outside Christian teaching for the sake of the Jews and other innocent victims of the Nazi reign of terror. This week, 80 years ago, February 7, 1945, he was transferred to Buchenwald concentration camp. On April 9, he was executed at the order of Hitler. He was 39 years old. During his 2 years in prison, his friends carried letters out, which we now know as letters and papers from prison. In one of them he wrote, "The church is church only when it is there for others." never parading himself as a spiritual superior. His poem from prison shows his remarkable humanity and humility. It is called Who Am I? Who am I? They often tell me I step out from my cell, calm and peaceful and poised, like a squire from his manor. Who am I? They often tell me I speak with my guards, freely, friendly, clear, as though I was the one in charge. Who am I? They also tell me I bear the days of my calamity serenely, smiling and proud, like one accustomed to winning. Am I really what others say of me? Or am I only what I know of myself? Restless, yearning, sick like a caged bird, struggling for breath as if I were being strangled, starving for colors, for flowers, for birdsong, thirsting for kind words, human closeness, shaking with rage toward power lust and pettiest insult, tossed about, waiting for great things to happen, helplessly fearing for friends so far away, too tired and too empty to pray, to think, to work, weary and ready to take my leave of it all. Who am I? This one or the other? Am I this one today and tomorrow another? Am I both at once? Before others a hypocrite, and in my own eyes a pitiful, whimpering weakling? Or is what remains in me like a defeated army fleeing in disarray from a victory already won? Who am I? They mock me, these lonely questions of mine. Whoever I am, thou knowest me, O God, I am thine. The key question of our lives being tested in this moment is not who am I, but whose am I? Will I take up, in Bonhoeffer's words, the unconditional obligation to help the present victims of state action? Trans people, demonized by the almost $300 million worth of political ads during the last presidential campaign, whose rights are now being taken. And all LGBT persons, immigrants, legal and undocumented, now living in terror, that's not too strong a word. Women of childbearing age living in restrictive states on abortion and women's health care. We start there. We have already started there, standing by victims of state action and official cruelty and social hatred. Wherever people are in danger in our community, we can be there. Will we commit ourselves to what Bonhoeffer hoped he would be able to do in Germany, to the reconstruction of Christian life in America? A reconstruction of Christian life which would be for us, as it was for him, a new centrality of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in the life of the church. Your pastors, Gary West and David Comer, have challenged us through the years to let the Sermon on the Mount be the heart of our Christian lives. Not the religion about Jesus, but the religion of Jesus. Will we follow Jesus of Nazareth as we live in a time where truth is every day and every hour, now on the scaffold? Amen.